so bright in here, I can't even see. What is popping? Brand new whip just hopped in. I got options. You pass that bitch like soccer. Yeah. Where's the baby? She awake?
The batteries in.
Look what's in that bag. Aggie, shut her up.
She don't ever shut up. This is what she does. She's annoying. She can't open the goddamn door.
fabulous count.
Hi.
Other action figures each sold separately. From
Record the purr.
Jimmy, get the door. It must be Cousin Willie. Okay. Hi. What's up?
Ah, there we go. Something chill to watch. The following video is rated R and is intended for an adult audience. So if you're under 18, take a fucking hike, eh? So as long as you're a responsible adult, kick back, spark one up, and enjoy the show. Hi, everybody. Cannabeard Grows here. How you doing? How you doing? Now, I know a lot of you have been waiting quite a while for this video. I apologize it took so long, but honestly, I was kind of wrestling with the idea of even posting this video, because it's honestly not very good. I didn't do a very good job of growing the plant. I'm not very proud of this one, but I got the footage. I might as well show it anyway, good or bad. I kind of show you my mistakes and my wins on this channel, so with that being said, I might as well show you this one too. Don't forget, if you do like this video regardless, please show it by giving me one of them thumbs up things down below there, and subscribe, hit that bell for notification if you're not already part of the crew, and hope you enjoy. Now, I knew right away that there was not going to be enough room in this small 2x4 tent for all of these ladies, and I was going to have to move some around. One of these Girl Scout cookies started looking a little bit funny, getting a little spindly, a little strange looking, just having funny formations. So I kept an eye on it, and sure enough, this lady right here has got some balls on it. I don't know, but there is definitely some balls. So there's only one thing we can do. That hermaphrodite in the manner that I did. It was kind of funny, and I just couldn't let it impregnate the other remaining Girl Scout.
How
We can watch this.
high are you? I'm Kyle Cushman, and I'm here today at Green Flower Media. And we're going to talk about the fact that you control the outcome of the size of your plant. You control the outcome of the yield of your plant. Did you realize that? That if you wanted to grow a 1 ounce plant, you can. If you wanted to grow a 2 ounce plant, or a 3 ounce plant, or a 4 ounce plant. Okay, yeah, it takes a little practice, and you can't exactly decide I want to grow 3 tomatoes, or 4 tomatoes, or 6 tomatoes. But there is a general rule of thumb. There are a lot of factors, as with every aspect of growing. But the truth is that you can grow a 1 ounce plant in a 1 gallon container. You can grow a 4 ounce plant in a 1 gallon container. I'm not here to get into all the specifics. What I'm here to teach you is that you control the outcome of the plant. You want to decide from the beginning, A, what is your goal in yield? Do I want 1 ounce a plant, 2 ounces a plant, or a quarter pound per plant? And that has to be tempered with the size of your environment. Obviously, you're not going to grow 6 ounce plants in a closet. I might, however, grow 6 ounce plants in a large facility. Are you going to grow a 1 ounce plant in a 15 gallon tub? Obviously not. So a few things are obvious. The main thing is that it's under your control. So as you're vegging the plant and the plant gets larger, you can simply let the plant grow au naturel. That's not advised. What we want to do is we want to prune the plant and pinch it back a little bit. And that's going to help keep the internodal spacing a little shorter, and it's going to help proliferate the growth of other nodes and other branches so that you get more branching. So you want to not let your plant just grow tall. You want to top it a couple of times. The real trick of what you want to do is about predicting ahead of time what size you want the plant to finish at. What size is your environment? How much room do you have between the floor and how high you can raise your lights? Is it 6 feet? Is it 4 feet? Is it 8 feet? Generally, you want to make sure that when your plants are done, you still have 2 to 3 feet between the bulb and your plants, because that's the only way you're not going to burn off all that wonderful THC trichomy goodness by having the sun within a foot of your plants when they're supposed to be ripening in the late fall shade, let's say. So how do we go about this? There's a general rule of thumb that once you flower your plant, it's going to roughly double in size. So if I flower my plant, meaning changing the photo period from a vegging photo period of either 24 hours, 20 hours, 18 hours, to a flowering photo period of 12 hours of darkness. What size is that plant? When should I do that? Do I want it 1 foot tall, 2 foot tall, 3 foot tall? Well, remember, it's going to double in size before it stops growing. Some plants triple in size before they stop growing. You can mitigate some of that by training and trellising and supercropping and all of these things, but you have to plan for a doubling of the height. So if you have 4 feet of space between the top of your bucket and your light, you have to flower at 1 foot. You have to turn your plants from vegging to flowering at 1 foot, because in the time that that plant bud sets, it's going to now be 2 foot. And that means that you have 2 feet left between the tip of your plant and your lights. Perfect. So now you're getting a feeling for what you have to do to match your plants with their environment. Now let's say you have an unlimited environment and you're not controlled by the size of your closet or the size of your bedroom. And you're not going to run out of vertical height. What size do you want to flower your plants at? Well, that's a little bit trickier. That's a little bit more dependent on strain, a little bit more dependent on root size, the size of the root structure. What size pot did you decide to ultimately grow in? So let's talk about that for a minute. If I want to grow a quarter pound plant, I want to average 4 ounces a plant. I'm probably going to choose a pot between 3 and 5 gallon size. If you go too big, you are not going to be able to water often enough to balance out the size of the root structure that you have. Now, of course, here's another variable. You could always veg longer to make a more prolific root structure and fill out that larger bucket and continue to prune, making a more bushy type plant and not letting it get taller, building more miles on the root structure. But we don't want, there's another cost to benefit lost when you veg too long. So let's just take an average vegging time, 4 to 6 weeks. Okay, we don't want to veg for 3 months. Can you? Yes. Do we want to? No. We want to have more than 2 harvests a year. So we're going to take a 4 to 6 week veg time. And let's say you wanted to grow, so I said you wanted to grow a 1/4 pound plant, I'd use a 3 to 5 gallon bucket. Let's say you want to grow a 6 to 8 ounce plant. Let's move it up to a 7 gallon pot, 7 to 10 gallon pot. And now you're going to veg it for a good 6 weeks, a good 6 week veg. So you can see the more in yield you want to end up with, obviously the longer you're going to have to veg. And that's both because you have to build up a larger root structure in the phyllosphere, fancy name for the root structure below the surface, to service the larger biomass network above the surface. Everything in growing is about balance. Too many plants in a room can lower your yield. Too many lights in a room can lower your yield. Too big a plants can lower your yield. Too small plants can lower your yield. Experience, confidence, observation will help you key in on all of these important aspects. And spending time with your plants, that's the best. Kyle Cushman, Green Flower Media, tuning out. Peace and love. Hi everybody, my name's Kyle Cushman, and I'm here today at Green Flower to do a demonstration with this lovely blueberry cookie plant. And we're gonna trim her up and we're gonna do a little Cushman chiropractic, otherwise known as super cropping. And so we're gonna start here, and I'm gonna let you know what I'm doing and why I'm doing it as I go along. So just note, she's very bushy right now. And she's very unruly. We don't like it. No airflow, and a bunch of sucker branches is what we call these. I call them sucker branches because they suck energy from the plant and they're not going to produce anything. Okay, so I'm going to start cutting away here, okay? And you know, there's a lot of ways to attack this, okay? Because there's a lot of work to do on this plant. So I'm just going to remove a few of these larger leaves from the middle here, so that I can just kind of...
We need to get you home.
Normally I would twist the plant around as I was working it to get a good view, but because the camera's set up,
This used to be my couch.
I'm not going to do it.
For all you know, they had
clear off
a
some of these larger
romantic
leaves.
evening
The
planned for
idea
tonight.
is to
Might even be his
remove
birthday,
the
and you're
obvious
ruining
things
it.
first.
Subtle.
You know,
I don't care.
obviously,
You didn't
this
have to
branch
come.
that's hanging down here, okay? The way I judge is, if the tip of the branch does not break at least 50% of the height of the plant, it's gone. Boom. Gone, 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 gone. Sounds like a song I know. Gone, gone, gone. Okay, no more singing today. So we're removing all of the sucker branches first. And then the next thing that you want to do is you're going to clean out all these obvious, all these little nodes down here that are also, these are going to become branches too. You let these grow for another week or two and you're just going to have more sucker branches. So you got to clean all this stuff out here little by little, cutting, pinching, cutting, and you slowly work yourself up from the bottom, because the bottom is where the obvious stuff is. Okay, so before we get to anything questionable, we're just going to remove all the obvious stuff. Now, one of the main reasons why I'm removing all this vegetation is it's simple math. So every living thing in the universe has a finite amount of energy. And it just so happens that the amount of energy that this plant has is controlled by a few factors. Of course, how much light it gets and how much nutrition it gets and how healthy it gets. But let's just say everything is all optimal. the size of the root system is going to determine how, what the capability for this plant to transport water and nutrients up the plant is. And then what it does is it divides that energy among all of the nodes and all of the branches and all of the branching spaces that it could possibly pop out another branch or another node. And then whatever energy it has left is going to be devoted to the top, which is where you're going to mature all the buds that you're going to harvest at the end. So what we're doing is we're taking that finite amount of energy and we're minimizing the points, the number of points at which it's being reduced. So instead of 200 points that energy has to stop at, you only have 100 points. So it's just simple math. You're reducing the requirement for the plant to feed nodes and or branches that just aren't going to do anything for you. Okay? So I'm going to remove this branch because I happen to know this is a really fast-growing plant. Okay? And a little bit of the pruning that you do does depend on what your intentions are. Do you plan on flowering this plant right away? Are you pruning it a little late? Are you a week or two into flowering? We're going to assume that this plant is exactly where you want it to be. In other words, I've taken it out of veg. In fact, I just walked from out back, as you can see here, and pulled in one of the models from out back, and she's just been in total veg. So what that does is that allows me to trim her up and continue to let her veg under a vegetative photo period for a few more days to kind of recover from the shock from all of the cutting that we've done. And that's always a pretty good idea. Is it absolutely necessary? Absolutely not, but optimal. You could take this plant, trim it up, and flip it today. You could take this plant from flowering, maybe it's been flowering for a week, and you can do this job. But the absolute optimal would be to prune it up so that you still have a couple of days to vegetate before you want to flower it. So as you can see, she's getting really cleaned up here. You know, she's starting to look a lot better, and you can see the interior of the plant. And that's the thing is, interior leaves that grow into the interior of the plant are always good ones to remove, especially once they reach hand size, because they're going to cover up so many nodes. And what would you rather have happen? Would you rather have that leaf that's already as big as your hand get bigger? Or would you rather the nodes and the leaves underneath it that are supporting the flowers that you want to grow get bigger? So that's a little bit of selective leaf pruning. So we're really getting up towards the top of the plant now, where every decision is important. You can see there's not a lot of extra leaves on the plant. One of the things that you don't want to do is you don't want to over prune the plant so that now, before, when it was underneath the light, you would see no light hitting the bucket or hitting the dirt, because the vegetative canopy is so thick and dense that there's no light coming through. You don't want to overdo it to the point that when you're done, 50% of the light is going right through the plant and hitting the ground.
No light.
So sometimes it helps to actually stand up and look down a little bit to make sure that you're not overdoing it. And sometimes it also helps to look from below and make sure that you're not overdoing it, because you can look up at the lights and judge to see that you're not over pruning your canopy. So now that we've got this bottom cleaned up, which is going to help create a lot more air circulation, it's going to allow your buckets to dry out a little bit quicker, and reduce the chances of molds and fungus gnats and things like that, because you're going to get really good circulation down here.
What I should do.
So now the decision is, how many of these branches that I've left do I think that this plant can fully mature and fully develop? And that depends a lot on the strain. And it depends on the size of the plant. So if you have a spindly plant, unlike this,
Light Cycles for Growing Cannabis by Percy's Grow Room. A cannabis plant will grow differently according to how much light it gets.
This is a Jiffy windowsill greenhouse, and in it there are these peat pellets. This is the safest way to germinate seeds. I've tried many ways, but with this you got pretty close to 100% success rate. And I'm going to show you how to do it. I will be germinating 6 seeds only. We're gonna pour water in it. I'm not using tap water because tap water has lots of chlorine in it and other stuff. I'm gonna use bottled water, non-sparkling of course. We now have to wait around 10 minutes. These will soak up all the water. The peat pellets have become really thick, and now it's time for us to place 1 seed in every peat pellet. Preferably you don't want to touch the seeds, but if you wash your hands, then you can also use your fingers. I want to use these tweezers. Push it in a little bit and then cover it with the peat. Now the seeds are in here, and I'm gonna get rid of the excess water. There's still some water in there. I'm gonna close this thing. I'm gonna keep this in a warmish place, and we just wait. Luckily I can time travel, so what I'm going to do now, I'm gonna fast forward. Stay with me. It's been 5 days later now, and I made a mistake. It was a long weekend and I haven't been in this office for 5 days, and these have all germinated and they have been desperately looking for light. That's why they have grown very, very long. Usually what you would do is, as soon as you see a little bit of green coming out, you put them under your light immediately. I haven't done that with these, so they have desperately been searching for light. However, it also shows us how healthy these are. They have all germinated and they got a lot of power. What I need to do now is put them under light, and I transplant them into pots. So I have these pots here, and I'm filling them with my grow medium. Once I fill them, I'm digging a hole in the middle, and into that hole I transplant my peat pellet. And because my seedling is so long, I put it in very deep and I bury the stem almost completely. And that stem will grow roots, and it also means the plant is supported. After I've done that, I put them under the light immediately, and they now need some water. I carefully give them some water. I pour it around, and I don't wash away the grow medium, and I don't pour it over the plant. I don't like it over the leaves. They are too small for that. And that's how you germinate cannabis seeds. 3 days later, those plants looked like this. I know lots of people on the internet say you should germinate in a wet paper towel, but I don't like this method because the success rate is not as high. You see, paper towels, they are bleached with chlorine, there are chemicals on it, and if you germinate your little seeds in here, you have to touch them after they germinated. It's like touching a human fetus. Very, very dangerous. That's why I recommend these. This is a windowsill greenhouse. This is the best because your peat pellets won't dry out. You may not get this everywhere, but these peat pellets are available pretty much everywhere in the world. The links to these products are under the video. Leave your email address somewhere on this website so we can stay in touch and I can send you cool stuff about growing. Alright, thank you. Thanks for watching.
Talking This is the one I got, the 8-week one. Look.
Guys, Bill coming back at you again with another video. Today we're going to be doing one of my favorite types of videos. Today we're going to be harvesting the Girl Scout Cookies Extreme by ilovegrowingmarijuana.com. Okay guys, so I went back and checked the numbers, and I think this girl will be 8 weeks tomorrow, give or take. Sometimes it's a little hard to tell with autos because they flip on their own, not according to when you change your light schedule. So I've had some that they go into pre-flower and they stay in pre-flower for, you know, a couple of weeks. But then you have some that go into pre-flower and then 2 days later they're starting to bunch up into buds. So it's a little more difficult than if you were just for a photo period where you switch your lights to 12-12 and that's day one. So anyway, she's pretty darn close to 8 weeks, if not a little bit over, but she is done. So I've been checking her for the last week or so, just keeping an eye on the trichomes with my handy dandy little jeweler's loop here, and my little loop tells me that she is done. It's all cloudy with probably about 10% amber. So anyway, today's the day. She smells, man, the smell in here just from moving it. Anybody that grows knows, like, as soon as you pick up a plant and move it somewhere or touch it in any way, the smell just goes through the roof. And yeah, she's pretty smelly in here right now. Not a bad smell either. It's pretty good. So let's take a look at her. Okay guys, so there she is. I have her on my little work table there just to bring her up so it's a little bit easier to see and to harvest. Yeah, she looks beautiful. She got some really nice red colors in her, purples if you will. So let's take a little closer look at the bud structure here. We'll take, which one? We'll just take this one. Okay, so there she is. She's pretty good size colas on her. This isn't the biggest one, but it's a nice one, and she's fairly solid. She's not like the most solid I've ever grown, but she's not bad quality at all. I'm not going to complain at all on this one. And she's just totally covered in frost. Like, even if the fan leaves are covered, it's really kind of hard to tell. The camera doesn't really bring it out as much as it does in person. I don't know if we can get a close up here. There's a little bit better there, but yeah, she is completely covered. Now this one back here, this is the main cola here, and she's pretty thick. And again, I mean, she's not as tight as I've had some, but there's definitely lots of mass here, and she is beautiful. I love some of these leaves here that turn that red color. I don't know, there's just something about the colored leaves that really add an extra punch to it. And then, can't probably see it, but some of the calyxes there too are actually red, but they're covered in trichome, so it's really hard to see the red. But anyway, very beautiful. See if we can get a top shot here. Really liking this girl. My fingers are so sticky right now just from touching those couple of ones. I do have some gloves set aside here, which I should have put on before I even attempted this, but it's hard to work the camera with gloves. So yeah, so we got some buds all the way around the back here. Yeah, not a bad yield at all. So pretty happy with that. So what we're gonna do with her is I'm gonna harvest her in branches. So if anybody's watched my harvest, dry, and curing videos, with that one there, I left a lot of the fan leaves on because the humidity in the tent was really low. Well, now that we're moving into summer here, our summers are quite humid, so the humidity's up quite a bit. So for this one, I'm actually going to be stripping all the leaves off. I will be taking all these off, and I'll be saving these because, yeah, there's there's lots of trichomes on here, so I'll be saving these with my my sugar leaf shake and throwing them into some sort of concentrate. And so yeah, we're going to take all the fan leaves off this time and let the buds dry on their own in branches. So what I'm going to do right now is I will set you guys up on the tripod. First off, I'm going to go around and strip off most of these fan leaves, and then we're going to start harvesting. So I'll put you on the tripod, throw a little music on there, and we'll speed this up a bit so it's not too boring for you. But yeah, so first off, I'm going to strip all these fan leaves off. So let's get at her. So there she is. Man, she stinks. Okay guys, so that finishes the harvest of the Girl Scout Cookies Extreme. I will be moving her into my dark closet with a fan on, and we'll give her a week, 10 days to dry, and then we'll do at least a month cure on it, is what I like to do. So okay guys, so we got her all down, all chopped off, hanging up, and she's looking pretty good. Some of the really low stuff is a little bit squishy, but for the most part, they're pretty dense buds. Pretty happy with that. Now, as far as yield goes, I would guesstimate 1, 2, 3. I'm going to guesstimate probably around 6 ounces off of this. I usually tend to guess a little conservatively. So anyway, I will hang this up and dry it, and then when I do have it dried, I'll weigh it up, and then I'll try to let you know in one of my future videos what the actual weight of it was. So this is Girl Scout Cookies Extreme from ilovegrowingmarijuana.com. Now you can get your hands on that if you go down to the link in my description. That'll take you to ilovegrowingmarijuana.com if you want to check them out. And she was grown under a TSW 2000 for the most part. And if you're interested in any of the Mars Hydros lights, then I have a link in the description. If you use my code, you'll save yourself a few dollars. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Have a great weekend. Like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Happy growing.
JK, I don't hurt animals. I got this one too. This channel contains mature subject matter, so if you're not 19 years or older, don't watch this channel. With that being said, let's get into it. Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to be growing White Widow auto-flowering cannabis from Crop King seeds. This is going to be a grow journal of 2 plants as well as an auto-flower grow guide for anyone who's never grown an auto-flowering plant. For these plants, I use the paper towel method for germination. It's really simple. You just take a paper towel, get it wet, and put your seeds in the middle of it. You can leave it just on the plate, but I find it dries out too fast, and if it gets too dry, it can damage the seeds. So if you put it into a Ziploc bag or cover it loosely so it can still get some airflow, that works real good. Every time I've grown the White Widow from Crop King seeds, it germinates very fast. The soil that I start out with is exactly the same as my super soil mix. I highly recommend checking out this video. It's been a tried and true recipe for me, and I consider it a golden nugget that I've shared with the world. I've chosen to grow these plants in a 5-gallon fabric pot. I find 5-gallon fabric pots work very good for most autoflowers. What I'm doing here is simply digging a small hole about 2.5 inches deep in the center of the pot. And then I'm going to fill it with plain Pro-Mix HP. The reason I'm doing that is because plain Pro-Mix HP is a fantastic soil for starting seeds in. It doesn't have too much nutrients, and I know that it's not going to burn the young seedlings. When you're planting your cannabis seeds, be sure that the taproot is always facing down. I only plant my seeds about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch deep. I find that the deeper I plant my seed, the lower my germination rate is. After 4 days, both plants have emerged from the soil, and I'm now starting the timer and considering this day 1. Pay close attention to the watering pattern in these early photos. It's very easy to overwater cannabis, especially when it's in such a large pot for this age. Every time I water, I go further and further from the plants. This allows the soil to dry up, and it allows the plants to continue searching for more water. Whenever I'm growing indoors, I like to set some yellow sticky traps. This way, any flies or gnats that make their way into my tent
will immediately get stuck. Whenever I water my seedlings or my young plants, I usually use a pH of around 6.1, and then as they get older, I increase the pH to about 6.3, and that seems to work really good with the soil mix that I have. The reason I low stress train my plants is so that I can develop many colas from all the lower branches instead of just one large top cola. By bending down the plant, it sends auxin, which is growth hormone, to the rest of the branches. It also allows more light and airflow to the lower branches, which also stimulates growth. This is simply garden wire, and this is one way that you can tie down your branches and your stem. You can also use old recycled wire, which is what this is, old steel wire. Also copper electrical wire. This is actually my choice material for doing my low stress training. Most auto-flowering plants start to flower within the first month, so I'm going to start the low stress training right now at about 3 weeks. These plants are very healthy and the main stalk is supple and flexible, but I'm still very, very cautious while bending it down, and I work it many times. Instead of just bending it over, give it a little bend, a little bend, a little bend, and give it dozens of little bends, and it'll slowly work the fibers and it'll help the plant bend right down. If you try to do it all in one motion, you're probably going to snap your main stalk. After that, I take the big leaves, the main sun leaves, fan leaves, whatever you want to call them, and I tuck them behind the branches. That's called leaf tucking. And then I make sure I pull all the branch tips so that they're all facing the top. If you see a plant that has a slight pigmentation issue or a leaf that has two tips, just consider that to be a mutation. You know, check the bottom, make sure there's no pests. That is actually a common mutation that I've found with Crop King seeds. I've had it with many of their plants. But to be honest, they usually have a higher yield than the plants that don't have that mutation. Low stress training is something that I'll be doing for basically the whole grow. Until the plants are well into flower, I'll be going through every few days and I'll be repositioning my low stress training hold down pieces of wire. The area that I live, no matter what time of year, the temperature and humidity seems to fluctuate drastically. So I usually don't get too bent out of shape on either of those, as long as it's not too hot in my grow tent. I pay close attention to when I start seeing pistils on the cannabis. And most autoflower strains, whenever I see pistils start, that's when I start the timer for flowering. Once I know the plants have started to flower, I go ahead and I raise my light and I turn on the bloom switch. This light and this company have both been good to me over the years. I highly recommend checking out Philizon. They're not really talked about very often, but I've had very good results. Now that the plants are going into flower, I'm going to top dress them with good nutrients for flowering. I'm also going to remove some of the leaves on the lower canopy, doing a slight lollipopping, I guess. I'm also trying to keep any leaves or anything from touching the soil. I want to allow good airflow under the plant, and I don't want to create an environment that's good for pests and for mold. From my experience, an autoflower plant will have no problem getting to flower in a 5-gallon pot without adding any extra nutrients. Now that my plants are showing that they're going into flower, it's time to top dress them with nutrients that have a higher phosphorus and potassium ratio. I'm adding 3 tablespoons of mineralized phosphate from Gaia Greens, as well as 2 tablespoons of Gaia Greens 284 Power Bloom. I simply spread my amendments on top of the soil, and then I work them into the top 1/2 inch to 1 inch layer. Once the plants are about 1.5 weeks to 2 weeks in flower, I like to go through them and I like to clear out the bottom of the canopy. Anything that's going to be a popcorn bud and will not reach up towards the top of the canopy will be obvious at this point. And I'm still low stress training, pulling any long branches down as much as I can. I like to water my plants so I have a little bit of runoff, either enough for the plant to suck up on its own, and sometimes I water a little bit extra and I'll suck it out either with a wet dry vac or a turkey baster if it's just a small tent like this. Within the first couple weeks of going into flower, I like to give my plants a fungal dominated tea. I watered the plants thoroughly until I had runoff, and then I realized I forgot to pH the tea. When I checked the pH of the tea that was left over in the bucket, it was a pH around 8.1, and this is not good. What it does is it throws off the pH balance in your soil and it causes nutrient uptake problems. It's known as nutrient lockout. What happens with my plants, with my soil, every time the pH rises above around 6.7, 6.8 within the soil, I start getting rust spots on my leaves, and the plants can't absorb as much nutrition. So they quickly start to deplete the leaves of the sugars and the nutrients that are in them, and it'll drop a lot of leaves. I ended up flushing my soil and re-amending my plants, and all the way until harvest, I would go through every day or two and I would pick off any leaves that were fully depleted of chlorophyll or were browned and just needed to be pulled off. Right around 5 weeks into flower, one of my yellow sticky pads was showing lots of little teeny specks, and when I looked at it closely, I realized that they were bugs. I acted very quickly and I thoroughly cleaned out the grow tent. I don't know what these are, but I'm glad they didn't become adults. I think the reason I got those bugs is because the drip tray on that plant actually had a crack, so some of the water and amendments and whatever was in the water was dripping down below and creating a nice environment for the bugs. Also, just keep the dead leaves off the floor. I can't tell you how many times I've seen larvae and different types of things on the debris on the floor of the grow tent. This grow had a couple lessons for me. First of all, I forgot to pH my fungal dominated tea, which when I first started growing living organic, people told me I did not need to do, but I can tell you I've had more than one problem with that, and I knew better. The second thing that I did is after I flushed my soil and re-amended, I actually forgot to do my second top dressing in flour. So the plants might have even been hungrier for food than they were after the nutrient lockout. But that being said, I had excellent yield. When I harvest my cannabis, I take 3 factors into consideration. One is the color of the hairs. I generally like about 75 to 90% of the hairs brown. Number 2 is trichomes. I like most of my trichomes to be milky with a little bit of amber. And 3 is general ripeness of the bud, because some buds will mature completely different than other buds, and you just kind of need to observe each individual plant. Some buds, if you're going by the hairs or the trichomes, you're going to go too long and the buds are going to start turning brown or gray. And over time, I think the best way is to go by all 3 of those different methods: hair color, trichome color, and general ripeness. Cannabis produces THC-rich trichomes as a type of sunscreen to protect it. And when you put it through a dark period for 24 to 48 hours, what it does is it gives it an extra chance to produce extra THC in their trichomes without the sun degrading it during the daytime. Scientific studies do indicate that the dark period before chopping the plant does increase THC content, and depending on the strain, the increase can be quite significant. It also increases the resin content. You can see how the low stress training has paid off. It's created a nice flat canopy with many top colas, and it's utilized the low powered LED lighting as efficiently as possible. The extraction fan that I had on this tent was not sufficient, and the temperatures rose quite high sometimes. And what you're looking at right now is called foxtailing, and foxtailing is a sure sign of high temperatures, and if not, it could just be genetics. For example, the Canagro BC symbol is a strain called lamb's breath or lamb's bread, and it is notorious for naturally foxtailing, but it's a fantastic strain. This is just how I like to do my plants. I like to pull off all the big leaves real quick, chop the whole plant, and hang it up. I like to dry my plants until the branches have a light snap, but I don't like to go until it's too dry and brittle. That's just my preference. You kind of have to get to know your drying environment. Where I live is very, very dry. If you live in a more humid environment, you might want to take it a little further than I take it. I like to buck down my cannabis, which means I just get rid of all the stems, just trim off all the buds, and then once I get them all trimmed off and put into bags, then I let them rehydrate, let the inner moisture in the buds come to the outside for about 24 hours, and after that, then I will see how moist the buds are. If they need to dry more, I'll open the bag or take them out. And if they're good, then I'll go ahead and I can begin trimming. I think this weed looks so amazing. It looks almost brown from a distance until you get close and you look through the thick layer of hairs and you see a bright, reflective, shiny, frosty layer. And this is what the plants look like once they're all bagged up. And I haven't even trimmed these plants up yet. And that's probably because of the issues I had and all the leaves that turned yellow prematurely, which I have already pulled off when they were in flower. Now, I wasn't recording when I trimmed and weighed the cannabis, but I have the numbers, and let's go ahead and do some math.
Patrick break up, then you
I should be a singer.
you just help me pick a new sponsor.
I should be a singer.
This brand is chock full of strong server women and women. What about Catherine? Are you crazy? You don't want to met her. You call her with your problems, all you're gonna hear is clickety click click click.
Yo.
She's gonna make you one of those butterfly sweaters, or you'll have to wear it.
Yo.
Jill, Christy, Audrey, Chili.
This guy was in the chat last night, Haley. This guy was in the chat last night and said,
And I know exactly what I'm looking for. Someone who's sweet and gentle.
"You're a smoker?" Hell no, man. I hate smokers. Bye. And then was like, "Sorry, man. Can't. I need to unfollow. I hate smokers."
Thanks for having coffee with me. I've always liked your shares. I bet you help a lot of people. Probably too many. So why would you have time for me? I'm sorry I bothered you. I should go. Wow. You gonna be in a lot of work. Does that mean you'll sponsor me? Before I answer, I have one question.
So bro's still not playing.
I'll talk to them. Okay, good. Now I'm gonna need you to go to at least 5 meetings a week. Okay. 5 it is. And you need to call me every day. Sounds good. My flight lots, Philly? Sure, but not after 8 because that's my family time. Mine too. That's when I'm gonna need you the most. You call me after 8, it's not an emergency. I'm coming over to watch Puppy Dog Pals if I can spend. You want some tea? As long as I don't have to lick it out of the saucer. Matt, you weren't there. Missed you. Happening to me. How's Christy doing? Fine. She's getting ready for a date. Her new sponsor encouraged. Does she know someone already? Does that upset you? No old Marjorie wants to hear. I'm happy for you. A little surprised to have it so quickly. It's not that complicated.
I don't know what my average viewers are. Shit. I'm trying low. No. I'm definitely 1 or 2. that soak for a while before you hit that. Just put the new shoes in there, cause
Do what?
let it sit for like 5 or 10 minutes.
Been sober a long time. It's different for me. Someone once said the most dangerous words for an alcoholic were "I'm different." Oh wait, who are you? I'm trying to use my stuff again. There's a lot going on. My husband had a stroke. You're taking care of him. Sponsoring half of Napa. Need someone. You know what? I'm handling things just fine over here. Really. Because there's a deli guy and a perky wannabe lawyer that would disagree with that. I am worried about you. Seriously, what is happening to me? He was very sweet. He
Gotta
took me
figure
out
shit
to
out,
dinner,
guys.
asked me all kinds of questions about myself, and listened to the answers. I was bored out of my mind. So when are you seeing him again? I'm not. Yes, you are. No, there were no sparks. That's a good thing. When an alcoholic sees his sparks, it's usually the beginning of a dumpster fire. What we find boring can just be healthy and normal. I used to only be attracted to men that were married, broken, and hated. That sounds hot. But then, my sponsor made me go on a second date with a nice guy I had no interest in. Long story short, we've been happily married for 18 years. If I'd only done what I wanted to do, I'd still be supporting drummers who borrow my car and never come back. Still have their phone numbers? They're doing it again.
Not that.
So, who would like to share? Hi, I'm pretty alcoholic. I haven't wanted to share lately because I've been struggling. And when you've been sober a long time, it can be hard to admit. But here's the thing. Getting older sucks. You know, people treat me differently. They don't engage me in conversation. They assume there's nothing interesting about me. And I just want to scream at them. I robbed a bank. I took a bath with Jimi Hendrix.
Need some viewers up in this bitch, bro.
But all they see is if they see me at all. The other day, the grocery was incredible. The fellow behind the deli counter looked right through me and went on to the next person. I completely lost it. It was big time to call my sponsor, but found him. Yeah. Started looking for the people who can relate to me. Yeah. You have to do this program by yourself. I'm afraid to do it. My friends here. Thank you. Look at that. I think it's margarine.
Hey, lady cakes. You know where my keys in my safe is? Are they in the safe?
The last time I seen them, they were here.
Hey, will you go in my safe and there's like little dab, you know what those dab tools look like? You know what they look like? Did you buy that or is that your mom's?
That dude gave to me.
Who?
That, Mike dude.
Oh. Will you go grab that thing out of the safe?
Yeah, let me see. Let me see something.
My ass is worse.
You don't sleep.
How about you share?
I'm just trying to make sure it's changing temperatures.
Who she is?
No, this.
Good to see you.
Because I don't know how this fucking thing works.
I have a new
Here,
sponsor.
there's a body temp and then a
Knitter.
surface temp.
She might make you a butterfly
The hell
sweater.
is the difference?
Wouldn't that be wonderful?
I think you want surface temp's like the temperature of the surface.
Yeah.
I think you want the body temp, which you're gonna want to press
It
it.
says the batteries are low. I just put batteries in here, vibrating.
You've come a long way since we met. You just need something a little different now.
Since my surface temp is 85.
Hey, your surface temp's going to be lower. Because your surface temp's heated by your body temp.
That little scrapey thing?
Yeah, it looks like a little scrape thing. We're going to an intermission.
She just made a pouty face and then started smiling.
Hey YouTube, Mike here representing Gardenomics, the channel formerly named Enlighten Arts. Today I am posting my first how-to video of a hydroponic Dutch bucket build. Throughout the course of this video, I will be giving step-by-step instructions on how to build a single Dutch bucket system. This system is very effective and extremely inexpensive to build, especially if you can get your buckets for free from a restaurant or other source. All the materials used to build this system can be purchased at a local superstore or hardware store or ordered online. So without further ado, here are your materials you will need for this build. For this build you will need a large bucket, preferably an opaque 5-gallon. This size will give the plant's roots enough room to grow to their full potential, as well as having enough room for 2 to 3 gallons of water. The reason the bucket should be opaque is to prevent algae and other bacteria from growing by keeping light out of the reservoir. A bucket lid. 5-gallon bucket lids can be found at any hardware or superstore and are very inexpensive. For this system, we will be cutting a circle cutout in the center of the lid to house our net cup. The key is to cut a hole a few millimeters smaller than the diameter of the net cup. This ensures a tight fit, preventing the net cup from slipping into the reservoir. Clear vinyl tubing. Clear tubing is extremely inexpensive by the foot and even more so when purchased in bulk. I am using 3/8 ID tubing because that is the size of the attachment currently on my pump. The size of your tubing will be dictated by the size of your pump's output tube. Be sure to measure that adapter before purchasing any tubing. I can use clear vinyl tubing only because my water delivery system will be contained within the reservoir, preventing algae blooms caused by sunlight exposure. If you are running tubing on the exterior of the bucket, please be sure to use solid black or other opaque tubing. Net cup or fabricated container. Net cups are available extremely cheaply online and from the right vendor can be purchased in bulk for under $1 each. To keep costs down, you can turn any plastic household container into a net cup using a drill or Dremel. Water pump. This is where ordering online will start to save you a good bit of money, especially if your goal is to build a larger system. The size of the pump you will need will vary by the needs of your system. Larger systems require larger pumps. Because this system is so small, I will be using a very small pump rated for 80 gallons per hour. Air pump. Like the water pump, the size and cost of your air pump will be dictated by the size of the system. Because the system is so small, you could easily get away with a cheap air pump purchased on Amazon online for under $20. However, purchasing a more powerful pump at a slightly higher cost that has multiple outputs gives the grower the option of expanding his system in the future. It is all down to your needs for your system. Airstone. Airstones are used in tandem with air pumps to diffuse the oxygen coming from the pump into the water, creating an oxygen-rich environment for the roots. Airstones are not strictly necessary, but they aid in the oxygenation process, which is extremely important to the health of the roots. Porous material. When using organic materials in a hydroponic system, they have a tendency over time to decompose and clog the pumps. By building a filter using a porous material, we can ensure the smooth operation of the system. Last but not least, you will need a suitable grow medium in which the plants will grow. I'm using Hydroton, which is a porous expanded clay pellet. This medium allows for the right moisture retention, it is lightweight and inexpensive, and its porous nature attracts naturally occurring beneficial bacteria. This material can be purchased online in bulk or at a local superstore depending on your area. In addition to these items, you will also need nutrients and pure water. When it comes to hydroponic nutrients, you have the option of growing two ways, using synthetic-based or organic nutrients. While I normally pride myself on growing 100% organically and making my own nutrient blends using a mix of all natural amendments, I had General Hydroponics Floria series lying around, and since it is one of the best-selling nutrient lines of all time, I will be making a follow-up video detailing the use of the nutrient line and my opinion on the brand's effectiveness in tandem with this system. Now that you have a list of the materials you will need for the build, it is time to start constructing the system. The construction is extremely simple and only requires two cuts, one to house the net cup and the bucket lid, and one to house the tubing from the air pump and the power cord to the water pump so that the bucket lid can shut properly. Once these two cuts are made, all that is left is to hook up the air pump and air stone with our flexible tubing and place the latter in the reservoir. Cut and attach the filter to the water pump using the porous material. Place the water pump in the reservoir and run the flexible tubing from the pump to the middle of the net cup. And finally, place the net cup in the bucket lid, fill it with hydroton or other suitable grow medium. After these steps have been completed, your hydroponic system just needs to be plugged in and is ready to run and be seeded. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and before signing off, I wanted to leave a parting message. With the way our current debt-based monetary system works, there is a distinct possibility in the near future that our currency will eventually become worthless. This will cause major problems in our country and food and water will become scarce. By learning how to cultivate food and provide for yourself, you will be much more likely to survive another Great Depression-esque situation. I am making these videos because I believe that we have become a nation of consumers and have become dependent on large corporations to provide our food and other goods, which puts almost unlimited power in the hands of a few individuals. It is time for we the people to take back our self-sufficiency and be able to provide for ourselves and our families. I made this video in the hopes that this information will allow and inspire people to start growing their own organic food and become more self-sufficient. With that being said, I wanted to thank all of you for your time, and please like and subscribe for more videos. This was Mike with Gardenomics, hoping you all have a great summer. Live, learn, and grow.
Is it raining? Go grab it. It's on the porch. The front porch, dumbass.
Hi, I'm Emily from the Oribi team, and I'm here to show you how to drive better marketing results for your business. First, go to oribi.io and connect your site for free. Once connected, Oribi automatically captures everything your visitors do. Zero manual work. You can build funnels in seconds and pinpoint exactly where and why your visitors get lost. Oribi tells you in plain English if your blog drives sales or if visitors to the pricing page are more likely to create an account. Follow individual visitors through your site, see exactly what they do and how
make a video on how to make a fucking beat in under like 10 minutes, bro. This splice.